Before television families became loud, fast, and modern, there was one mountain, one farmhouse, and one simple good night that America never forgot. The Waltons first arrived in 1972, but its heart belonged to an older world. The struggles, faith, and family bonds of Depression-era America. For millions of viewers, Walton's Mountain felt less like a TV setting and more like home. Today we're looking back at the cast of The Waltons, then and now, and the actors who turned a quiet family drama into one of television's most comforting legacies. Jason Walton, the gentle and musically gifted son whose songs gave The Waltons some of its warmest moments, was portrayed by Jon Walmsley. He was born on February 6, 1956 in Blackburn, England, and was 16 when the series first brought Walton's Mountain into American homes in 1972. Jason stood apart because his strength was quiet. While the family faced hardship, work, and uncertainty, he often expressed hope through music, giving the show a softer emotional rhythm. Walmsley played him with natural sincerity, never forcing the sweetness of the character, but allowing Jason's kindness and ambition to grow slowly over the years. His real musical talent made those scenes feel authentic, as if the songs truly belonged to the mountain and the family around him. After the Waltons, Walmsley continued building a life in music as a singer, guitarist, songwriter, and session musician, staying close to the creative spirit that defined his most beloved role. By 2026, he is 70, and Jason Walton remains a gentle reminder that even in hard times, music could make a simple home feel full of light. Erin Walton, the thoughtful daughter whose journey captured the uncertainty of growing up, was portrayed by Beth McDonough. She was born on May 4, 1961 in Van Nuys, California, and was only 11 when the Waltons began in 1972. Erin worked because she felt emotionally real. She was not the loudest member of the family, but her struggles with identity, love, confidence, and independence reflected the quiet challenges many young viewers understood. McDonough gave her a softness that never felt weak, showing Erin as a girl learning how to become her own person inside a family where everyone had a place and a responsibility. Viewers watched her grow through heartbreak, dreams, and the small disappointments of young adulthood, which made her story feel honest rather than idealized. After the series, McDonough continued acting and later became known for writing and speaking openly about health, self-image, and the pressure of growing up on television. By 2026, she is 64, and Erin Walton remains one of the show's most tender portraits of youth, a reminder that finding yourself can be just as difficult as finding your way home. Ben Walton, the spirited and ambitious son whose restless energy brought both humor and tension to the Waltons, was portrayed by Eric Scott. He was born on October 17, 1958 in Los Angeles, California, and was 14 when the series began in 1972. Ben worked because he felt like a real middle child, trying to be noticed in a large, hard-working family. He could be stubborn, impulsive, and eager to prove himself, but underneath that fire was a young man searching for purpose and respect. Scott played him with a boyish confidence that slowly matured as Ben grew into adulthood, marriage, and responsibility. His journey reflected the dreams of many Depression-era young men who wanted more than survival, but still had to learn patience, discipline, and sacrifice. After the Waltons, Scott stepped away from constant Hollywood attention and built a quieter life in business, while remaining warmly connected to fans of the series. By 2026, he is 67, and Ben Walton remains a portrait of youthful determination, a reminder that growing up often means learning how to turn pride into strength. Mary Ellen Walton, the strong-willed eldest daughter whose dreams pushed beyond the borders of Walton's Mountain, was portrayed by Judy Norton. She was born on January 29, 1958 in Santa Monica, California, and was 14 when The Waltons premiered in 1972. Mary Ellen worked because she carried fire inside a family built on patience. She was bold, emotional, stubborn, and determined to become more than what others expected of her. Norton played that spirit with conviction, showing a young woman learning how to balance independence with love, ambition with duty, and toughness with vulnerability. Her journey into nursing gave the series one of its most meaningful arcs, reflecting the strength of women who served families and communities during difficult years. After The Waltons, Norton continued acting, directing, writing, and performing, while also staying closely connected to the show's loyal fan base. By 2026, she is 68, and Mary Ellen Walton remains one of the series' most memorable daughters, a reminder that courage often begins as stubbornness before it becomes purpose. Jim Bob Walton, the quiet and mechanically gifted youngest son, whose dreams often reached beyond the mountain, was portrayed by David W. Harper. He was born on October 4, 1961, in Abilene, Texas, and was 11 when the Waltons began in 1972. Jim Bob worked because he carried a soft kind of loneliness inside a very full house. Surrounded by siblings, chores, and family expectations, he often seemed most alive when thinking about engines, airplanes, and the wider world. Waiting somewhere beyond home. Harper played him with a gentle awkwardness that made the character feel deeply believable, especially for viewers who understood what it meant to dream quietly. His love of mechanics and aviation gave the series a youthful sense of possibility during a time shaped by economic struggle and approaching war. After The Waltons, Harper stepped away from the spotlight and chose a private life far from Hollywood's constant attention. By 2026, he is 64, and Jim Bob Walton remains a tender portrait of the dreamer in the family, the boy looking toward the sky while still rooted in the place that raised him. The narrator, the warm and reflective voice that gave the Waltons its soul, belonged to Earl Hamner Jr., the creator whose memories inspired the entire series. He was born on July 10, 1923, in Schuyler, Virginia, and was 49 when the show premiered in 1972. His narration worked because it felt less like explanation and more like memory itself. Each closing reflection carried the sound of someone looking back with gratitude, tenderness, and a little sadness for a world already slipping into the past. Hamner's voice connected the episodes to real American history, transforming family struggles into something intimate and universal. Through him, Walton's Mountain became more than a setting. It became a remembered home, built from childhood, hardship, faith, and love. Beyond the Waltons, Hamner wrote novels and created other television dramas, always returning to themes of family and resilience. He passed away in 2016 at the age of 92. By 2026, his narration remains one of television's most comforting sounds, a reminder that sometimes the voice telling the story becomes as beloved as the characters themselves. Jon Walton Sr., the steady father whose quiet strength held the family together, was portrayed by Ralph Waite. He was born on June 22, 1928, in White Plains, New York, and was 44 when The Waltons premiered in 1972. Jon worked because he represented a kind of fatherhood built on labor, restraint, and love that did not always need many words. He carried the burden of feeding a large family through hard times, yet he rarely allowed hardship to turn him bitter. Waite played him with grounded dignity, giving Jon a moral weight that made the Walton home feel safe, even when money, weather, or grief threatened it. His deep voice and thoughtful stillness captured the spirit of Depression-era fathers who measured love through sacrifice. Off-screen, Waite endured personal loss and later became active in both acting and public life, bringing real emotional depth to his work. He passed away in 2014 at the age of 85. By 2026, Jon Walton Sr. remains one of television's most beloved fathers, a reminder that strength can be quiet, patient, and deeply human. Ike Godsey, the dependable storekeeper whose general store became one of Walton's Mountain's most familiar gathering places, was portrayed by Joe Conley. He was born on March 3, 1928 in Buffalo, New York, and was 44 when the Waltons first aired in 1972. Ike worked because he represented the heartbeat of a small community. His store was not just a business. It was where neighbors shared news, worries, laughter, and small acts of kindness during difficult years. Conley played him with gentle humor and plain-spoken decency, making Ike feel like someone viewers had known all their lives. He was sometimes awkward, sometimes nervous, but always fundamentally kind, especially as his relationship with Corabeth added both comedy and tenderness to the series. Away from acting, Conley also found success in real estate, keeping a grounded life beyond Hollywood. In his later years, he faced dementia and passed away in 2013 at the age of 85. By 2026, Ike Godsey remains a comforting reminder of small-town America, the man behind the counter who knew everyone's name and cared more than he let on. Olivia Walton, the loving mother whose strength gave the Waltons its emotional center, was portrayed by Michael Learned. She was born on April 9, 1939 in Washington, D.C., and was 33 when the series premiered in 1972. Olivia worked because she embodied tenderness without weakness. She was faithful, disciplined, compassionate, and deeply protective, yet the show allowed her to feel exhaustion, fear, and heartbreak like any real mother. Learned played her with remarkable emotional honesty, turning ordinary scenes of cooking, comforting, scolding, or praying into moments that felt deeply lived in. Her performance helped define the image of the Depression-era mother who held a family together when everything outside the home felt uncertain. The role earned Learned major recognition, including Emmy Awards, and became one of the defining performances of classic family television. Off-screen, she later spoke openly about personal struggles and recovery, adding even more humanity to her legacy. By 2026, she is 87, and Olivia Walton remains a portrait of grace under pressure, a mother whose love made Walton's Mountain feel like home. Esther Walton, the sharp-tongued yet deeply loving grandmother of Walton's Mountain, was portrayed by Ellen Corby. She was born on June 3, 1911 in Racine, Wisconsin, and was 61 when the Waltons premiered in 1972. Grandma Walton worked because she carried the authority of age without losing tenderness. She could scold, correct, and command a room, but beneath her firmness was a woman whose love for her family shaped every word. Corby played Esther with a beautiful mix of grit and warmth, making her feel like the kind of grandmother many viewers remembered from their own childhoods. Her presence gave the show a connection to older traditions, harder times, and the moral backbone of family life. In 1976, Corby suffered a serious stroke, but her return to the series became one of its most moving real-life moments, as audiences saw resilience not just performed, but lived. She passed away in 1999 at the age of 87. By 2026, Esther Walton remains unforgettable, a reminder that grandmothers often hold families together with equal parts discipline, humor, and unconditional love. Zebulon Walton, the warm, mischievous grandfather whose laughter brought joy to Walton's Mountain, was portrayed by Will Geer. He was born on March 9, 1902, in Frankfort, Indiana, and was 70 when the Waltons premiered in 1972. Grandpa Zeb worked because he gave the family a sense of history and wonder. He loved the land, teased the children, challenged John, and filled the home with a spirit that was both playful and wise. Geer played him with a booming, natural warmth, making Zeb feel less like a scripted character and more like an old soul who had lived many lives before the cameras arrived. Off-screen, Geer's own life was rich with theater, activism, folk culture, and resilience, including a period of blacklisting during the 1950s. That history gave his performance added depth, as if Zeb's humor came from someone who truly understood hardship and survival. Geer passed away in 1978 at the age of 76, and the show's farewell to Grandpa became one of its most emotional moments. By 2026, Zebulon Walton remains the mountain's joyful elder, a voice of nature, memory, and love that still echoes through the series. Corabeth Godsey, the refined, dramatic, and often lonely wife of Ike Godsey, was portrayed by Ronnie Claire Edwards. She was born on February 9, 1933 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and was 42 when she joined the Waltons. Corabeth worked because she brought a different kind of emotional texture to the mountain. She could be proud, fussy, judgmental, and socially ambitious, but beneath the manners and sharp opinions was a woman deeply afraid of being overlooked. Edwards played her with theatrical precision and unexpected vulnerability, turning Corabeth into much more than comic relief. Her struggles with identity, marriage, loneliness, and self-worth gave the character a bittersweet humanity that many viewers came to appreciate over time. She added elegance, tension, and humor to Ike's world, while also reflecting the private sadness that can hide behind proper behavior. Away from the series, Edwards was a writer, actress, and creative spirit with a lasting love for performance and preservation. She passed away in 2016 at the age of 83. By 2026, Corabeth Godsey remains one of the Waltons' most richly drawn supporting characters, a reminder that even difficult people are often carrying quiet wounds. Emily Baldwin, the gentle and romantic half of the beloved Baldwin sisters, was portrayed by Mary Jackson. She was born on November 22, 1910 in Milford, Michigan, and was 61 when the Waltons began in 1972. Emily worked because she carried a softness that felt almost from another century. Polite, wistful, and devoted to memories of lost love, she brought a fragile sweetness to Walton's Mountain that balanced the harder realities of Depression-era life. Jackson played her with delicate humor and quiet sadness, especially whenever Emily spoke of Ashley Longworth, the man whose absence became one of the show's tender, recurring notes. The Baldwin sisters could have been simple comic figures, but Jackson gave Emily a sincere, emotional life beneath the family traditions and gentle eccentricity. Before becoming widely known on television, she had worked as a teacher and entered acting later than many performers, bringing maturity and observation to her roles. She passed away in 2005 at the age of 95. By 2026, Emily Baldwin remains a portrait of memory, manners, and unforgotten love. A reminder that even the sweetest characters can carry the ache of things that never came true. Mamie Baldwin, the firmer and more practical of the Baldwin sisters, was portrayed by Helen Klebe. She was born on January 6, 1907 in Mendota, Washington, and was 65 when the Waltons premiered in 1972. Mamie worked because she gave the Baldwin household structure, dignity, and a slightly sharper comic rhythm. While Emily often drifted into romance and memory, Mamie guarded the family name, the traditions, and the famous recipe with solemn pride. Klebe played her with precise timing and restrained authority, making Mamie both funny and deeply believable as a woman shaped by heritage and habit. Her scenes with Mary Jackson created a charming sisterly balance, one wistful, one firm, both living inside a world that was slowly disappearing. Klebe's long career stretched across radio, film, and television, and her experience gave Mamie a polish that never felt artificial. She understood how to make stillness, posture, and a single look carry meaning. She passed away in 2003 at the age of 96. By 2026, Mamie Baldwin remains a graceful symbol of old traditions preserved with pride, humor, and just enough stubbornness to make them unforgettable. Cindy Brunson Walton, the gentle young woman who became Ben Walton's wife and brought new warmth to the family, was portrayed by Leslie Winston. She was born on May 13, 1957 in Washington, D.C., and was 22 when she joined the Waltons. Cindy worked because she entered the series with a softness that felt natural rather than passive. As a young wife finding her place inside a large and deeply rooted family, she represented the quiet courage it takes to belong somewhere new. Winston played her with warmth, sincerity, and an understated emotional presence, allowing Cindy to grow through love, uncertainty, and responsibility without losing her gentle nature. Her relationship with Ben added a new layer to the later seasons, showing how the Walton family continued to expand and change as the children moved into adulthood. After acting, Winston eventually stepped away from the spotlight and built a behind-the-scenes career in television production, including work as a script supervisor. By 2026, she is 68, and Cindy remains a tender part of the Walton legacy, a reminder that family is not only something we are born into, but something we slowly learn how to join. Sheriff Ep Bridges, the steady lawman whose calm authority helped keep order around Walton's Mountain, was portrayed by John Crawford. He was born on September 13, 1920 in Colfax, Washington, and was 52 when he first appeared on the Waltons. Sheriff Bridges worked because he represented justice on a human scale. He was not the hard, distant figure of a crime drama. He was the kind of rural officer who knew the people, understood the land, and approached trouble with patience before punishment. Crawford played him with a grounded presence that made the character feel trustworthy, practical, and deeply connected to the community. His scenes often reminded viewers that small towns depended on relationships as much as rules. Crawford had a long career as a character actor, appearing in hundreds of film and television roles across westerns, dramas, and science fiction. His familiar face became part of classic television's landscape. He passed away in 2010 at the age of 90. By 2026, Sheriff Ep Bridges remains a reassuring presence on Walton's Mountain, a reminder of a time when authority could still feel neighborly. Rose Burton, the warm and practical caregiver who helped fill the Walton home with comfort in the later years, was portrayed by Peggy Rhea. She was born on March 31, 1921, in Los Angeles, California, and was 57 when she joined the Waltons. Rose worked because she brought a familiar kind of kindness to the series at a time when the family was changing. With Olivia absent from much of the later story, Rose offered steadiness, humor, and a gentle domestic warmth that helped the household feel whole again. Rhea played her with natural generosity, giving the character the feeling of a neighbor or relative everyone had once known, someone who could cook, advise, worry, and laugh all in the same scene. Her performance never tried to replace Olivia, but instead added another layer of care to Walton's Mountain. Rhea had a long career in television, becoming beloved for roles that used her expressive face and strong comic timing. She passed away in 2011 at the age of 89. By 2026, Rose Burton remains a comforting later addition to the show, a reminder that families survive change because new hands arrive to help carry the weight. Dr. Curtis Willard, the dedicated young physician whose relationship with Mary Ellen became one of the Waltons' most emotional stories, was portrayed by Tom Bauer. He was born on January 3, 1938 in Denver, Colorado, and was 37 when he joined the series. Curtis worked because he represented service, responsibility, and the quiet loneliness of caring for others during difficult times. As a doctor in a rural world, he carried the burden of being needed, often standing between fear and hope for the families around him. Bauer played him with sincerity and restraint, making Curtis feel thoughtful rather than overly heroic. His marriage to Mary Ellen brought tenderness, conflict, and heartbreak to the series, giving viewers one of its more mature emotional arcs. Beyond the Waltons, Bauer built a long career across stage, film, and television, known for natural, grounded performances that made even small roles feel lived in. He passed away in 2024 at the age of 86. By 2026, Dr. Curtis Willard remains a meaningful figure in the Walton story, a reminder that love and loss often arrive together, especially in lives devoted to helping others. Mrs. Flossie Brimmer, the kind boarding house owner whose warmth made her a beloved part of Walton's Mountain, was portrayed by Nora Marlowe. She was born on September 5, 1915 in Worcester, Massachusetts, and was 58 when she first played the role. Flossie worked because she represented everyday goodness in a world where small acts mattered. Her boarding house was more than a place to stay. It was a quiet refuge where people could find food, conversation, and a little human comfort. Marlowe played her with gentle humor and maternal warmth, making Flossie feel like someone who understood hardship without letting it harden her. That quality fit beautifully into The Waltons, a series built on the belief that community could help people survive what they could not face alone. Marlowe came to acting later in life and built a steady television career through patience and character work, often bringing kindness and emotional depth to supporting roles. She passed away unexpectedly in 1977 at the age of 62. By 2026, Mrs. Brimmer remains one of the show's softest supporting presences, a reminder that home can sometimes be found in the kindness of a neighbor. Yancey Tucker, the scruffy and eccentric mountain man whose tall tales brought mischief to the Waltons, was portrayed by Robert Donner. He was born on April 27, 1931 in New York City, and was 41 when he first appeared on the series. Yancey worked because he carried the flavor of old rural folklore into Walton's Mountain. He was unpredictable, funny, and sometimes foolish, but never without heart. Donner played him with a natural comic looseness, making Yancey feel like the kind of character who might wander into town with a strange story, a bad idea, and a laugh that somehow made everything better. His presence added texture to the community, reminding viewers that small towns were filled not only with family and duty, but with colorful outsiders who became part of local memory. Donner worked in more than 100 film and television projects, often appearing in westerns, dramas, and comedies, where his rough-edged charm stood out. He passed away in 2006 at the age of 75. By 2026, Yancey Tucker remains a lovable piece of Walton's mountain folklore, a reminder that every community needs a dreamer, a trickster, and a storyteller. Jeffrey Burton, Rose's energetic grandson who brought fresh childhood energy to the later seasons of The Waltons, was portrayed by Keith Coogan. He was born on January 13, 1970, in Palm Springs, California, and was 9 when he joined the series. Jeffrey worked because he arrived at a time when the original Walton children were growing older, giving the show a renewed sense of youth and mischief. Through him, viewers could once again see the mountain through a child's eyes, curious, restless, sometimes difficult, but full of feeling. Coogan played him with natural energy, helping the later episodes preserve the family atmosphere that had always been the heart of the series. Coming from a famous Hollywood lineage as the grandson of Jackie Coogan, he carried a connection to entertainment history even as a child. After The Waltons, Coogan continued acting and became known for roles in films such as Adventures in Babysitting and Toy Soldiers, later working as a performer and acting coach. By 2026, he is 56, and Jeffrey Burton remains a reminder that The Waltons was always about generations, the children growing up, and new voices arriving to keep the home alive. Reverend Matthew Fordwick, the earnest young minister who brought faith, awkwardness, and kindness to Walton's Mountain, was portrayed by John Ritter. He was born on September 17, 1948 in Burbank, California, and was 24 when he appeared on The Waltons. Fordwick worked because he was not presented as perfect. He was sincere, sometimes uncertain, and still learning how to guide a community with compassion instead of judgment. Ritter played him with warmth and humility, showing early signs of the emotional honesty and comic timing that would later make him a household name. His presence added a gentle spiritual layer to the series, reflecting the importance of faith in small communities without making the character feel distant or severe. After The Waltons, Ritter became one of television's most beloved stars through Three's Company and later work, earning admiration for both comedy and heartfelt drama. His sudden death in 2003 at the age of 54 shocked fans around the world, By 2026, Reverend Fordwick remains a touching early chapter in Ritter's career, a reminder that before the broad comedy, there was already a deeply human performer finding his voice. Verdie Grant Foster, the proud and dignified woman whose stories brought important depth to the Waltons, was portrayed by Lynn Hamilton. She was born on April 25, 1930, in Yazoo City, Mississippi, and was 43 when she first appeared on the series. Verdie worked because she expanded Walton's Mountain beyond one family's experience, offering a more honest look at race, memory, and resilience in rural Virginia. Hamilton played her with quiet strength, never reducing Verdie to a lesson or symbol, but giving her the fullness of a woman shaped by hardship, intelligence, and deep self-respect. Her episodes often carried emotional weight because they asked viewers to consider histories that family dramas sometimes avoided. Hamilton's performance brought grace to those moments, balancing pain with dignity and warmth. Beyond the Waltons, she became well known for her work on Sanford and Son and appeared across television, film, and stage for decades. By 2026, she is 95, and Verdie Grant Foster remains one of the show's most meaningful supporting characters, a reminder that true nostalgia must also make room for the voices history tried to overlook. Elizabeth Walton, the bright-eyed youngest child, whose innocence gave the Waltons some of its purest emotional moments, was portrayed by Kami Cotler. She was born on June 17, 1965 in Long Beach, California, and was only 7 when the series first aired in 1972. Elizabeth worked because she represented childhood inside a world shaped by adult worries. Through her curiosity, wonder, and occasional mischief, viewers saw Walton's Mountain not only as a place of hardship, but as a place where imagination could still survive. Cotler gave the character a natural sweetness that never felt overly polished, allowing Elizabeth to grow on screen in a way that felt honest and unforced. Audiences watched her move from little girl innocence into thoughtful adolescence, making her transformation one of the show's quiet pleasures. After the Waltons, Cotler stepped away from acting and built a meaningful career in education, becoming a teacher and school administrator. By 2026, she is 60, and Elizabeth Walton remains a gentle symbol of childhood memory, the youngest voice in a family whose love made difficult times feel bearable. John Boy Walton, the thoughtful young writer whose dreams gave the Waltons its literary heart, was portrayed by Richard Thomas. He was born on June 13, 1951, in New York City, and was 21 when the series premiered in 1972. John Boy worked because he was both part of Walton's Mountain and restless to leave it. Through his journal, his questions, and his hunger to become a writer, he gave voice to anyone who has ever loved home, while still longing for a wider world. Thomas played him with emotional clarity, making John Boy sincere, without becoming sentimental, and ambitious, without seeming ungrateful. His performance reflected the spirit of Earl Hamner Jr.'s own youth, turning personal memory into universal television. The role earned Thomas an Emmy and made him one of the defining young actors of 1970s family drama. After the Waltons, he built a respected career in theater, television, and film, continuing to choose thoughtful and demanding work. By 2026, he is 74, and John Boy Walton remains the dreamer at the center of the mountain, a reminder that stories often begin in small rooms with big hopes and a pencil in hand. And that's our look back at the Waltons, then and now, a family story that never needed spectacle to become unforgettable. Some of these actors are still with us, some have sadly passed on, but each one helped shape the warmth, wisdom, and quiet strength of Walton's Mountain. Decades later, that final good night still carries the feeling of home. Which cast member's story moved you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this journey through classic television, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again on Hollywood 1960s.